So today I want to talk about the nervous system. And nervous system are two words that you're going to hear me say a lot, particularly when I'm talking about things like polyvagal theory. So the thing with the nervous system is that it sounds kind of scientific. It sounds like I'm going to use a lot of science. And what I really want to do is just give a really brief overview of what it is, how it affects you. And then when we're talking about it on other occasions and in other videos, then you'll have an understanding of what I'm going on about. So the nervous system basically is the nerves in our body. And these nerves sense input and then they report that input back to the brain. So you have nerves for lots of different things. And this kind of input. So we're reporting back what we see, what we feel, how cold we are, do we need to go to the toilet? All of these things are constantly being reported back to the brain. Also, pain is a key part of the nervous system. So your body, using the nerves, goes, yes, this is what we're experiencing, sends the message back to the brain, and the brain makes a decision. Do we act on it or do we ignore it? And then that decision comes back. So when people tell you pain comes from the brain, in some ways it does, but it's a bit more complicated than that. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't get treatment. So when we talk about the nervous system in a psychological way, we're talking mostly about one specific nerve. And that nerve is it's called the vagus nerve. And that basically kind of translates as wandering nerve. And that goes from your stomach, your diaphragm. Some people believe it goes to your bladder as well and your pelvic floor. But it runs through the main sort of middle of your body. So it runs through your stomach, the heart, connects to the lungs, connects to your throat, to your ears, to this little bit in your eyebrows. So where you stressed, you furrow, and it goes into the back of the brain. And the part of the back of the brain it goes into is the amygdala. Now, the amygdala is the part of the brain that senses danger and acts on it. So, when we make logical decisions, we make them from the front of the brain most of the time. In fact, all the time. So, the logical decisions come from the front of the brain. Instant decisions that are revolving around danger come from the back of the brain. So when we're making an instant decision, we're not involving logic at all. And this is what we mean by the nervous system. We mean that that part of your body has found a sense, they've found something has alerted them, and they've put that information to the back of the amygdala, which makes an instant decision what to do. Now, this nervous system has many layers, and these layers are considered to be evolutionary. So at different parts of human existence, these layers meant different things and did different things. So this part of the nervous system, and this is what we talk about as therapists mostly, this part of the nervous system is designed to keep us safe. It's designed to keep us alive. And for most people, most of the time, staying safe and staying alive is in the part of the nervous system that is the social part. So that means that we've evolved to feel safer with people and in group situations. In polyvagal theory, this is referred to as the ventral vagal part of the nervous system, or the ventral vagal state. Now, sometimes we learn that humans aren't safe. So our experiences teach us that being with people is not safe. And therefore, we find it more difficult to feel safe with others. So the nervous system learns that the social state, the ventral vagal state, is not where it prefers to be. Now, this does have an effect on the body. And this is where we talk about nervous system states. So for most of the time, we should be, in order to be healthy, in order to be calm, in order to not feel that kind of low level anxiety, or in order to not feel that kind of numbness, we need to be in that social nervous system state. When the amygdala senses danger, the amygdala puts our body instantly, without communicating with the front part of the brain, because if you were running away from a tiger, you wouldn't have time to think, is that a tiger or is that just trees? The safest thing to do is just run. So when the amygdala senses and decides that there is danger, it puts us into a aroused state, an excited state. So this is referred to sometimes as fight or flight. It can be a lot of other nervous system responses as well, for example, fawn. So we'll talk about these in other videos. I won't make this a really long video, but the aroused state, that kind of panicked nervous system state, is one that is exhausting. But the body at this point is really hypervigilant to danger. It's ready to run, it's ready to fight, it's ready to panic in whatever way it needs to. But it's also checking. Is that person safe? Is that person safe? And it's interpreting everything as much as it can do as, is this scary or not scary? So it misinterprets faces, it misinterprets body language. It wants to keep you safe. Now, in this agitated fight or flight part, you have more energy, you can get more done, but that sense of anxiety is really clear. You will feel more anxious. Your body also is prioritizing keeping you alive over keeping you long-term healthy. So your body's not worried about what you're learning, because it might not need to think more than the last 10 seconds. Your body's not concerned about laying down muscle. It's more concerned with laying down fat, because fat is something you can burn really quickly. Muscle is needed for long-term social living, not instant I might die soon living. So your body is not repairing tissue, it's not repairing skin and hair, it's not absorbing the nutrients from food in the same way as it would, and it's preferring different kinds of food than it would if it was storing vitamins. So the sort of foods it's preferring are high impact, easy to get the calories from food. So it's looking for sugar, it's looking for fat, it's looking for salt, it's looking for food that raises your neurotransmitters. So that's the things in your brain that help you with motivation. So it's looking for food that raises dopamine, because dopamine is really useful in a crisis. So it's looking to prioritize this over other things. And you can stay in this hypervigilant state for longer than you think you can. So if in your life you have prolonged or repeated danger, or prolonged or repeated perceived danger, then what that means is that the amygdala will want your nervous system to be more in this fight, flight, aroused state than in the social state, because it will feel that this is something it needs long term. So what happens is your nervous system really prefers that state rather than that social state that we usually know. And what can happen is if we've learned that people are unsafe, every time we get into that social state, we're triggered. The amygdala goes, oh, people are dangerous. And then it brings us back into that panic state. So if we learn and continue to believe that people are not safe, then every time we get close to somebody or behave in a community type way, we could be then triggering that aroused state to come back. And as I say, it is useful at times to be in this state. It's really useful in a crisis. It's really useful if you're doing exercise or running or competitive sports, or even have a competitive job. It might be beneficial for you to spend a lot of time in this aroused, agitated state. But it does put pressure on your body. And if your body is constantly wanting to keep returning to this state, then the body will at some point realize it can't anymore. So it carries this state for as long as it can, and then it just puts you into the lower state, which is the shutdown mode. So it takes this kind of agitated and it takes it to what's really kind of the give up stage. And this was the first evolutionary stage of our nervous system. So the give up stage, so we sometimes call it freeze, we sometimes call it flop, we sometimes call it the possum state, so the play dead state. So obviously you're not playing dead, you're still wandering around, but you may feel very much in your body as though you're playing dead. So you may not be feeling any of the emotions that you would normally feel. So you may have a sense of feeling, I'm just not happy, or I'm just never happy. You may feel depressed. You may think that you may not be able to tell when you're hungry. You may not be able to tell when you need to go to the toilet as easily and quickly. You may not be able to understand or feel that you need to sleep, or you may be constantly feeling that you're tired. So in this state, the body again doesn't prioritize all of the things that it prioritizes in the social state. It doesn't prioritize laying down vitamins. It doesn't prioritize food. And when it doesn't prioritize food, one of two things can happen. Either you just can't be bothered to eat, or your body in that can't be bothered to eat mode wants to save as many emergency calories as it can. So it almost kind of has a bit of a hibernation phase where it's just taking on again those useful types of food, so the sugars and the fats. It's not looking so much to give you instant energy, it's looking to find energy at the point where it might need it. So it's kind of saving for an emergency, but at the same time is sort of giving up. It's not really prioritizing all of the things like learning and repairing muscles and tissue and recovering from illness. And if you've been in the agitated fight or flight state for a long time, then your body may want to keep you in this sort of low state for a long time, but it's not repairing. So you would think that if you're in this state, what your body's doing is that it's healing, it's repairing, it's processing, and actually it's doing the opposite. It's refusing to repair itself, it's refusing to process things, it's just kind of done. So that nervous system state isn't useful. And there is a state that you can be really healing in that is quiet. So you can have a nervous system state, which I think is sort of, I feel almost like it's, so we see it in polyvagal theory as a ladder. And I almost feel that the bit that polyvagal theory is missing is that it's actually not a ladder, it's a circle. And that in this shutdown mode, we can go from shutdown into social almost the back way. So we can use things like meditation, we can use safe connection, we can use that kind of, in polyvagal theory, they call it safe immobilization. And I think this really sits in a circle. So it sits behind the shutdown and before the social state. So this state, this kind of safe immobilization, hugs, things like kink restriction may fall into this category. Watching a really good film and being really absorbed in it, really nice smells, all of the kind of comforts, but more sort of social type comfort. So listening to music, singing, dancing, anything that really helps the brain to soothe itself, to heal and to calm. So the shutdown response, that reptile give up response, is not good for your body. But if you can tweak it and move it a little bit further towards the social, then that is good for your body. That kind of meditation, that kind of healing, but that's a more social, safe immobilization. And then that can help to teach you that people are safe and help you come round to that next stage. So in polyvagal theory, we believe that this ladder, when you're on that kind of real kind of depression stage, that shutdown stage, in order to get to social, you need to go through that aroused, agitated state. And this is why people often say, oh, why don't you go and have a walk? Why don't you do some exercise? Why don't you go and see a comedian? So these suggestions are almost kind of subconsciously, when people make them, designed to bring you up into social. But when you're coming up into social, if you're going through that agitated state, you might find that all your feelings come back at once, which can be very distressing. You might find that you've got really high anxiety, and you might find that you're exhausted from that hypervigilance and constantly checking what everyone else is doing and what everyone else is thinking. And that might exhaust you so much that it just sends you straight back into the give up. So what we're looking to do in therapy and in other things is we're looking to get through that agitated phase as quickly as possible, or we're looking to come through the back way and we're looking to go via that safe immobilization and that soft, quiet, safe being with people. And that is a not quite as brief as I hoped it would be example and description of what the nervous system is and what we're talking about. So just to kind of really come back to what that means for you, the nervous system can be a bit kind of broken. So it can be in one of these states. It can also not move comfortably and easily between these states. So, for example, if I jump at you and you go, oh, boo, oh, your amygdala immediately responds with a fear response, and you either probably want to run or you want to punch me or to fight in some way or to yell. So The nervous system is designed to do this. We are designed to move into this state, but then we're designed to comfortably, easily come down out of this state. So the nervous system's designed to go, okay, we're good, nothing's scary, let's move back into social. So it might laugh. A healthy nervous system will be like, ho, 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 aren't you silly? And it will be a point of connection. So it will bring you into social immediately. A nervous system that isn't healthy will either take you from that agitated state immediately into shutdown, and you might find that you're in a shutdown state for a few days, or it might keep you in that aroused, agitated state for longer. So if it does this, then you might find that your heart rate is higher for a couple of hours because of this instance. And this is why sometimes the suggestion to go out for a run if you've got anxiety or depression, if your nervous system is not healthy, isn't always the best suggestion to give somebody. Because if you have a non-functioning or a non-healthily functioning nervous system, then going for a run might be great at the time. It might be really exhilarating and fun, and you might feel good. But if your heart rate and your nervous system state doesn't change for a couple of hours later, for a couple of hours after, it's putting a lot of pressure on the body. So if you are somebody that is learning to heal your nervous system, learning or training your nervous system, I'll often say. So if you're in a training your nervous system state, running might not be the best thing for you. You might be better off doing things that build in the nervous system calming and the nervous system regulation, like, for example, yoga or team sports. If you see people as safe, team sports keep you in a social. So there's sort of that link between the agitated, aroused state, which is good for the body sometimes. It's good to exercise the nervous system, and the social state. So team sports, rather than solo running, might be better for you to keep that. Or you might be better for a short amount of time, keeping, while you're training that nervous system, to be less reactive or to react in a different way. You might be better off doing things like yoga. So that's the nervous system. Hopefully that's been not too kind of focusing on the science, and hopefully I've explained how it works and also what it means to you. And now the pleasing Google slide, which you can skip if you wish, the video is over, but just to let you know who I am and what my credentials are. So I'm Katie Gerrard. I'm an integrative therapist. I work as a hypnotherapist. I'm also a counsellor. I am listed on the BACP website as a registered member under my legal name, Catherine Howard. I have a master's degree in psychology and I'm a graduate member of the BPS. I am also neurodivergent myself. I have written books on Norse witchcraft, and mostly psychology is, I also work with ancestors and ancestor patterns and transgenerational trauma. Mostly the brain is my special interest, so I will geek about this kind of thing for hours if you let me.